Broadcasting live from the interplanar beacon on the plane of Ravnica. This is Tap Tap Concede. I'm Graham.
And I'm Nelson.
And we are here to talk about some War of the Spark. Just some sort of initial impressions of War of the Spark and how we think it's been going so far, for us personally anyway, for Limited and Standard. Or at least how it's been going for Nelson and Standard. I haven't played any Standard myself.
I'm going to draw thoughts out of Graham's brain about Standard, like Nicol Bolas pulling out a spark.
Mm-hmm. Do I still live? Because according to Rosewater, losing your spark isn't necessarily fatal.
Oh, okay.
So
I think it's going to depend upon your answers.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to feed deck lists to you, and then harvest your reactions, and if they're satisfactory, then you live at the end of the episode.
Oh, delightful. Well,
So
fingers
stay
crossed
tuned.
for that. A reminder that this show is brought to you by CardKingdom.com. Check out CardKingdom.com/LRR for all of your card needs. The LRR lets them know that we sent you, and we do that because we think they're great. We literally use them ourselves. They have terrific customer service, very, very fast shipping, and if you let them know, Loading Ready Run sent me, button please, you'll get a little 1-inch button, which they just finished. The stakes have never been lower, and now it's...
Move to cheat step.
Yeah, there it is. Move to cheat step. The Jeremy White original.
I thought I wrote that one. Did you ever write it?
He said it on stream that it made a highlight. It was because he the thing is, it wasn't even cheating because he'd fetched for the wrong land, right? And so he was like, put a mountain into play or something, and then shuffled up and put his deck back and was like, actually, wait, move to cheat step, and then put the thing back and went looking for a forest instead. Or I don't know, whatever it was. And there was a discussion, I think actually with you on Tap Tap, about how you're actually allowed to do that if nothing's changed in the game state.
They've changed the rules for that for competitive recently.
Really?
Yeah. Now there's just like a backup that's allowed on the judge's discretion. But the simple backups like play an island. Oops, I meant to play a swamp. And then you call the judge, and it's like, if nothing else happened, yeah, you can do that.
Oh, okay, cool. Anyway, it's moved to cheat step.
It's not the first time anyone said that, for sure.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
Okay, so maybe not a Jeremy White original, but
That's okay.
popularized on our streams
All right, Jerry, you get it.
by him.
Also,
And of course, this show and everything we do is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun. And we thank you so much for that. So we're going to start with Ye Old Crack a Pack. And then we're going to move on to cracking some packs of War of the Spark and talking about that and some thoughts on Limited, which I have been getting my ass beat trying to navigate. And then we'll talk a little bit about Standard as well. So why don't you roll us the big die, and we'll see what we get. I got caught on the microphone.
so is that a reroll? What are the official rules for the podcast? Dice?
Whatever you want it
Let's
to be.
go 10.
10.
We're going 10
All right.
down.
2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10. Hey, it's the last time a set was so heavily weighted to the rares when in Limited. It's Fate Reforged. This pack of Fate Reforged was given to us by Flying Ultracar at PAX East 2018.
Thanks, Flying Ultracar. Also, the last time Ugin was printed as a Planeswalker, right? This is only the second Ugin
think
printing
so,
that we
yeah.
have in War of the
Yeah.
Spark. Yeah.
Our first card is Refocus. One in a blue. Almost said one in a white. One in a blue. For an instant, untap target creature and draw a card.
Could have been a contender in a different format, but this time around we only ever played it if you really needed prowess triggers.
Yeah, if you really, really needed prowess. Oh, this one, however, Douse in Gloom, 2 and a black, instant, dealt 2 damage to target creature, and you gain 2 life. So it's like a more expensive Sorin's Thirst, easier to cast, way better in Fate Reforged than it is in War of the Spark, because it hit morphs.
Correct.
Or manifests. Morphs or manifests, depending on
Hit
which.
face down 2/2 creatures.
Yeah, which was sort of
They
important.
usually cost 3 mana.
Will of the Naga, 4 blue for an instant with Delve, meaning you can exile cards from your graveyard to help cast it. Tap up to 2 target creatures. They don't untap during their controller's next untap step. In the red-blue prowess aggro deck in this format, Will of the Naga was pretty scary.
Yeah, Frost Breath is good. Like
Yeah.
the effect is strong. I found this one to be kind of underwhelming, maybe just in the decks that I drafted, for using like your, because if you're, well, I guess it's probably better in red blue. I'm thinking of it in green black blue, or like some combination green blue or black blue, where you only have so many delves, right? And like spending some of your graveyard on this was kind of underwhelming.
This was like the top of the curve basically for you in
Sure,
that deck,
yeah.
though. You'd be like, you Will of the Naga for 2, and then you Teamer Battle Rage and
right.
kill them.
Fair enough. Okay.
So,
Sneaky Jeskai card, Will of the Naga.
Abzan Sky Captain, 3 and a white for a 2/2 flyer, and when it dies, bolster 2. Bolster was you choose a creature with the least toughness among creatures you control and put 2, in this case, +1/+1 counters on it. Sky Captain was actually pretty okay, I recall.
All right.
Enhanced Awareness, 4 and a blue instant. Draw 3 cards and discard a card.
Yeah, it was an instant.
It's fine. I think it was fine.
You kind of included this card if you had nothing more exciting to put in your curve top.
Yeah.
Yep.
Typhoid Rats, a classic. Single black mana for a 1/1 with Death Touch.
Another really solid way to trade with a 2/2.
Yeah. Formless Nurturing, 3 and a green for a sorcery. Manifest the top card of your library and put a +1/+1 counter on it. So the manifest was you take the top card of your library, you can look at it, you put it face down onto the table, and it becomes a 2/2 creature. So it's like a morph. The way manifests work was if it was a creature, you could turn it face up at any time by paying for its normal casting cost. So in this case, you got, at worst, a 3/3 for 4. And that actually is not amazing in green.
No.
But maybe you also got a creature that then, when you flipped it up, had a +1/+1 counter.
Yeah,
on it.
some of the time with your manifest cards, you also got like a sneaky morph effect.
Yeah. Formless Nurturing, not amazing, to be honest.
Or if you had a spell under there and you did also have like a bounce spell or something, you could get it back in your hand.
Sandstep Outcast.
Now we're talking.
Very good card in this format. 2 and a white for a 2/1, and when it enters the battlefield, either you put a +1/+1 counter on it, so it's a 3/2, or almost always it comes with a 1/1 flying spirit token.
Yeah, blue and white have both seen over the years several different forms of 3 mana and 2 bodies with 5 points of stats. Right? They've given us all the combinations just about, and this one's the best one. Every now and then you don't want the second body, but usually you do, and you'd really rather your other point of power is, or your last point of stat is power, right?
As I mentioned earlier, Teamer Battle Rage, 1 and a red for an instant. Target creature gains double strike until end of turn, which by itself is fine. But if you have Ferocious, meaning if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, that creature also gains trample.
Extremely good next to double strike.
Yeah, giving a creature double strike and trample. This card ended a lot of games of Fate Reforged Limited.
And it's still a staple in Modern.
Hunt the Weak, fine removal spell, 3 and a green for a sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control, and then that creature fights a creature you don't control.
We've got a contender for first pack against Sandstep Outcast now.
Shockmaw Dragon, because this set was all about dragons. 4 red for a 4/4 flyer, and when it deals combat damage to a player, it also deals 1 damage to each creature that player controls.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
actually.
reasonable 6-drop. Yep. I don't remember facing this one much, but
I don't
that's
remember
scary.
it either.
You don't want to have to deal with that.
Do you remember Channel Harm?
Yes, I do, actually.
5 and a white
Yeah.
for an instant. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to you and permanents you control this way by sources you don't control. If damage is prevented this way, you may have Channel Harm deal that much damage to target creature. Is there a particular reason you remember Channel Harm?
I remember it. I remember looking at it first and saying, "Okay, 6 mana, instant, don't want it," and then eventually finding a place for it in my heart, which was to say that I saw it win some games or at least stabilize some games, and then eventually decided it was like worth playing if you had the space for it. Yeah.
All right.
Abzan especially, I think, like if you're
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Huge Stone Retainers. 3 mana for an artifact creature golem. It's a 4/4. You can only cast them if you've cast another spell this turn. It's
Right.
the Illusory Angel.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
clause?
that's right. Yeah, Illusory Angel, but not flying.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Fine.
okay.
It's okay. I didn't see it get played a
It's
lot.
like a 6-drop.
Also, our land here is the Windscarred Crag. Now, I mentioned...
Pretty easy to argue that's the best card in the pack so far. Yeah.
Now, I mentioned that Fate Reforged was a set that was very... The limited environment for it was very centered around its rares.
Right.
Like, if you opened a strong rare, you're going to try and play the rare. So I'm curious to see what we end up with. Ooh. Yeah, this is a pretty good one. Torrent Elemental.
Oh, I almost swore. Yeah.
I
kept it down.
4 and a blue for a 3/5 flyer, mythic rare. Whenever Torrent Elemental attacks, tap all creatures defending player controls. And for 3 Golgari, put Torrent Elemental from exile onto the battlefield tapped. Activate this ability only anytime you can control a sorcery. So you can get it back from exile.
Yeah.
Meaning if you
delve it.
If they kill it and it's in your graveyard, then you can exile it to cast something else with delve, and then you can bring the Torrent Elemental back. That's all very cool. But the 3/5 flyer that whenever it attacks, you tap all the defending creatures, that's just game ending.
Yeah, no, this card was quite strong. And usually in the deck that you're playing it, like you're in some sort of Sultai, as I was saying before, or your black-blue or your green-blue, you'll probably have some ways to delve it out of your graveyard if it dies.
Yeah.
There was probably a pacifism in this set. I'm trying to remember if there was a pacifism. I think maybe the white had an exile removal. I can't remember. There was definitely a common black white, just like damage dealing spell. But yeah, I lost 2 and 1 games with this several times.
Yeah.
It was a draft bomb.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would for sure first pick that over Stand Step Outcast, and then it's Hunt the Weak, I think. It's kind of third.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
And Dragon's okay too, but
No, I'd agree with that.
If you're going to pick a big scary flyer, it's 100% the Torrent Elemental.
So moving over to War of the Spark.
Yep.
Have you played much limited yet?
I played 2 drafts and 2 sealeds. Or, well, I'm in the second sealed.
What are your sort of initial impressions?
Well, okay, so I played, at the end of this, the draft we did on Friday, I played FNPF.
Right.
I have the impression now going through a couple drafts that's like, well, it's easier to get into a big greedy deck than it is to get into a focus deck.
Yeah.
So the second one was at a 6-player table. But I think that's true of the online drafts I've done as well. Yeah.
I think it's a big change following from Guilds of Ravnica and Ravnica Allegiance,
right?
Which were the guild sets, which were very much find your lane, find the guild that's open. Very traditional draft. Like, don't get married to your first pick, see what's open. But I'm finding with War of the Spark, what little I have done, doing that doesn't work.
Right. Yeah. I don't even know if
the picks are the card quality overall is so good.
Yeah.
That if you get a bomb as your first pick, you can just sort of ride or die on that thing, and just like if you get like a God Eternal, right? Like if I open Oketra, it's like great, I'm just forcing white.
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna play the best Oketra deck that I can draft.
Yeah, and you may not, you'll get cut a little on white. Like if you find white drying up, the cards for white are still so playable as you move down the cards that will get past to you, that you'll still end up with a deck that's perfectly serviceable.
Right.
And you have an Oketra.
Now I think overall this should be like a complaint about the format.
Probably?
Yeah. Like it's fun to play with bombs, and it's fun to play with splashy cool effects, but you want to make sure that in limited you don't feel like it's just a race to the best bomb, or a race to play, like in the games it's a race to like find your bomb. Mm-hmm. You want to feel like if you have bombs, great. If you don't, you should have ways to deal with your opponent's bombs. But it's maybe a little stuff. I don't know. There's spells that destroy planeswalkers and stuff. But one of the things about planeswalkers is that like throughout the game, like since they introduced them, you usually, like unless they're counterspelled, you usually just like get to do something powerful. Like they're also strapped to another spell they cast, and then threaten to cast again. And that's
now they all have static abilities too, and there's super complicated board states.
Yeah. No, I've seen a bunch of pretty funny looking screenshots from this limited with like 6-7 planeswalkers on the table.
Yeah, I had an instance. I don't think I talked about this on the podcast, but I think I might have asked you personally about it.
Sure.
I don't know, but it was a weird situation where I cast Finale of Promise.
That's the red one.
The red one.
Get back 2 sorceries.
Or
which instant and a sorcery or something. Cast them.
That spell, by the way, had been overperforming for me.
Okay, yeah, I saw it it's in a constructed deck.
Like
I
played
definitely
it.
Didn't think this was a very high pick.
Yeah, so it's X red sorcery. You can cast 1 instant or 1 target sorcery from your graveyard, each with converted mana cost X or less.
Right.
And there's other text that you get to make 2 copies of each one if X is more than 10. That's not going to come up in limited super often because that makes the whole spell cost 12. But anyway, so what I was doing, I was casting it for 5.
Okay.
And
So
this,
7 mana.
Yeah, I was in blue-red spells, probably my favorite deck of this format so far. I was casting I was casting it for 5. X is 3.
Okay, X is 3. Great. Yeah, 5.
And
total.
so I was targeting Chandra's Pyrohelix, which is 2 mana, and Stealth Mission, which is 3 mana.
Okay.
Because you don't have to spread it out. It's if they're each X or less.
Right.
Right? So they're each 3 or under.
Yeah, you just have to pay the cost of the more expensive spell.
Yeah. So then I was like blowing something up and making something huge and unblockable, and it was just good value.
Yeah.
And then I did it once. I cast it once, and it was like, okay, you cast it, pick your spells, great. Do you want this spell to resolve? And I said yes, and then it went, all right, move to combat. And I went, what? But I didn't get to cast my spells.
Oh, weird.
Because my opponent had Teferi in play.
Oh, wow. Okay, and this spell's still on the stack.
Yeah, Teferi says...
you're trying to cast your other spells.
Teferi says your opponent can only cast spells anytime they could cast a sorcery.
Yeah.
Which is, specifically, I talked to Surge, I guess, about it, was sorcery speed is during your main phase when the stack is empty.
And you have priority. Yeah.
And you have priority.
Yeah.
And so the problem is that casting those spells is part of the resolution of Finale of Promise, meaning Finale of Promise is still on the stack, so they just didn't cast.
Yeah.
So
you just exiled your spells.
That sucked.
Yeah, so Teferi is a powerful card.
Yeah.
Each opponent can cast spells only anytime they can cast a sorcery. I made a mistake last night just playing in Constructed. My opponent cast Teferi. I was supposed to respond with Shock, and I waited until they used the +1. I just got the static and the activated ability is confused because the activated ability also has to do with timing. Until your next turn, you may cast sorcery spells, so they had flash. So I have just this Shock that I wanted to go to his face. It's okay. I got to cast it next turn.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've just opened up a pack of War of the Spark here, so let's go through
back to
it
talking
and
about
give some thoughts about it.
Okay.
So this is limited focus, or I guess
talk about limited.
Actually, if they have any
Sure.
constructed importance, feel free to weigh in on it.
Yeah, I'm glad that we had the quick kind of rundown of what our thoughts are about what the format feels like right now, and then maybe let's just weigh in on all the cards we open here and compare them to what we think of them in our limited decks or what we would rather have that's similar.
Yeah, if I had to refine it, it's super complicated board states.
Sure.
Fun gameplay, weird draft.
Right.
If I had to lay it down. So yeah, our first card is Raging Crunch.
Hey, this was your preview card, wasn't it? Or
no?
Oh, sorry. Okay.
No, it's just
We
really
just like
funny.
to joke about it a lot.
It's just really, really funny because it's the Raging Crunch. It's a 4/3 for 2 and a red. It can't attack by itself. It can still block though.
Okay, so not a very high pick for me.
Not a super high pick, but absolutely playable.
Sure.
3 mana 4/3 is it's fine. Battlefield Promotion, 1 and a white. Give a creature, it's instant. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. That creature gains first strike until end of turn, and you gain 2 life. It just kind of does a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty up on this card.
Yeah, the fact that it leaves a counter behind for future proliferation is good stuff.
Yeah, super relevant.
Sky Theater Strix. It's a flying 1/2 for 1 and a blue, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn.
Yeah, so half of prowess, right?
Yeah, I was initially like, oh, this seems cool, and then it was like a bunch of feedback on it was like, it doesn't do enough, and I've been killed by this card so many times, not by itself, with friends, right? Opponent casts 2 or even 3 Sky Theater Strix, and then just starts popping off with spells, and I'm like, wow, I'm taking 9.
I think this card's totally fine. It needs to be in the right shell.
It's got to be in the I think it is the blue-red spells deck.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the cards that really wants to be in that deck. I could see it in a blue-white deck with Promotion and it's a Defiant Strike, the 1 white mana instant that draws a card, right?
If you get counters on it, it's not bad.
Yeah.
With this card.
This card's fine, yeah.
Courage in Crisis, 2 and a green, sorcery, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and then proliferate.
Yeah,
ideally, you're getting more than just the 2 counters from this card.
It's not that hard to put that together in this format.
Yeah,
right?
Ideally you have some other proliferate targets. But, put that counter on a Sky Theater Strix, and you're attacking with a 3/3 that turn.
Yeah, 3/4. No, 4/3, right? Because it's a spell.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to pump itself.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
And then 2 more counters, so it'll have 4 power that turn.
Yeah.
And 4 toughness.
Soren's Thirst.
Yeah.
Black for an instant, deals 2 damage to target creature, and you gain 2 life.
Yeah, this is solid removal. It's playable. It costs 2 black mana.
Yeah, it's been okay, but like, there's not a lot of really small creatures that have been killing me.
Right.
I mean,
we just talked about the
I
Strix,
just
yeah.
talked about the Strix, but apart from that,
Yeah, no, I think it's just like you want an early spell. This one also gains you life that maybe you have to like take card advantage or like lose card advantage on later, right?
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm still happy including it in my deck.
Another combat trick, Nahiri's Stoneblades. 1 and a red for an instant. Up to 2 target creatures each get +2/+0 until end of turn.
I haven't played this one yet. I don't
Neither
know where
have
it fits. Okay.
I don't know either.
Yeah, possibly Stoneblades is not a very high pick at all.
The best blue common ? Callous Dismissal.
Probably.
It's a very small mana war. It's 1 and a blue for a sorcery. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Amass 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's only a 1/1 mana war, but it only costs 2 mana. Like, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
This card is like, they haven't given, as far as I know, they've never printed this card before.
No.
Like 2 mana, 1/1.
You get to bounce their army.
The fact that it's a sorcery even makes it better in a bunch of ways, right? Like, better than it being a creature.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can bounce their army token, which is like one of the more powerful effects that you need sometimes in this format.
Or even just something that they put a bunch of counters on.
Yeah, their proliferate thing that they bothered to put counters on and then proliferate.
Yeah. Or, I mean, I guess there's a chance that you just need to get their Planeswalker off the table because it has a static ability that's making you unable to attack.
It's better than Mana War. Mana War is only target creatures. This
Yeah.
target's a non-land permanent. Super hot on this card. Yeah.
Arboreal Grazer, one of the best visual creatures, looking at the set. Maybe not actually mechanically, though.
It's
in
too bad
gameplay.
it's not an ape. I guess it's a lemur or something. Hey, I thought it was a monkey from
It's a
the art.
sloth, surely.
Oh, it's a sloth. Okay, great. Yeah, sorry.
Right?
I'm
It's
not a biologist.
Like a
Might be.
long-tailed, I think. I don't know. Paul, you're the sloth expert.
Hey, Paul's here, everyone. And it turns out he's a sloth expert.
I think he just likes sloths.
I like sloths. I'm pretty sure. I don't think like long-tailed sloth is a thing.
No. But he's got the claws. And
But if
there's
it
a
were,
sort
would
of,
it live on Ravnica and just like lie around eating fruit all day if, well, the city was being invaded by Nicobolus?
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be like really involved in the Nicol Bolas plot line. I don't
No.
quite see. I mean, that's why he's 0/3.
I mean,
I
the flavor text is Vivian literally saying that the gentle creatures that have no concept of what befalls their world.
Huh.
You know, and she's like, we got to think of the animals as well. And everyone else is like, yeah, I mean, yes, Vivian. I mean, yes, sure. You know what? Yes, Vivian, fine. We'll
Vivian,
listen.
I respect you,
Yeah.
but Nissa was one of the best green planeswalkers in War of the Spark.
Anyway, Arboreal Grazer, sorry, it's a single green mana for an 0/3 with reach. That's not nothing.
Yeah.
And when it enters the battlefield, you can put a land from your hand onto the battlefield tapped.
Look how far Wall of Wood has come. This thing can even attack. It doesn't have Defender. It's got no power, but just like Teo's Light Shield will constantly remind you, you need to look for that line of Defender, you know, before you assume something's not going to attack you next turn.
How deeply unexciting is this card when you don't have it on turn 1, though?
Well, you could also have it like the turn before you play your Planeswalker or the turn after you play your Planeswalker if that's the turn that like it could die.
Like I've
You
played with
definitely
it.
want to lose this rather than your Planeswalker a bunch of times.
I've
right?
played with it in a deck, and on turn 1, it's great because you're just ramping, right?
Yeah, because you get the Llanowar Scout effect,
But-
right? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's worth a card in your deck for
I
me.
haven't played it in a deck, so that's me. I don't know. There's better ramp spells.
Hey, it's
think.
it's a who's who of cards that have been making my life difficult. Divine Arrow.
Oh yeah, this is a real card.
Yeah. 1 and a white instant, deals 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. This is good.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
just
real
Gideon's
good.
Reproach, right?
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Great. Awesome. Rowl's Outburst.
Oh yeah.
Also very good. 2 blue red for an instant, deals 3 damage to any target. Then, as a bonus, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the other into your graveyard.
Yeah, if you liked paying 2 mana to deal 4 damage to a creature, guess how much you're going to like paying 4 mana to deal 3 damage to a creature. Weirdly, you're going to like it even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time to find the melting point of Lazotep.
All the things on this card are good. This is some solid removal. And you can burn a Planeswalker. That's really important too.
Hey, we're broadcasting from here this week.
All
It's-
right.
It's the Interplanar Beacon.
This card I don't so much care about. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's fine. If you're in a 2-color deck and you've got like 3 Planeswalkers, then I don't see a problem in running it.
yeah, sometimes it achieves a specific purpose.
Yeah, it's a land. It enters untapped. It adds a colorless, and whenever you cast a Planeswalker spell, you gain a life, just sort of incidentally. And then you can pay 1 and tap to filter your mana. You add 2 mana of different colors that you can only spend to cast Planeswalkers. Yeah. I mean, like I said, if you're in a 2-color deck and you have like 3 Planeswalkers, which is not... That's not a weird scenario. That's a fairly likely scenario.
Pretty
then
common, yeah.
It's like if you're not going to make your mana base terrible by running it, probably run it.
Yeah.
Incidental life gain might make it easier. Like if you're in like a green black deck and you're running an Angrath,
Yeah.
but you've only hit the one swamp, then this will help you cast the Angrath. I mean, maybe just running the swamp over this might have solved that problem, but now you gain a life. I don't know. Speaking of
It's playable.
Planeswalkers,
It's definitely playable.
yeah. Speaking of Planeswalkers, our Planeswalker for this pack is our werewolf friend Arlen, voice of the pack. 4 green for a 7 loyalty Planeswalker. Each creature you control that is a wolf or werewolf enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. And for -2, make a 2/2 green wolf. So that enters as a 3/3 wolf. So,
But in this set, it's extra important that it's a 2/2 with a +1/+1 counter on it.
yeah. So uninterrupted, she makes 3 3/3s for 6 mana.
Yeah.
Before just sitting there.
It's relevant that they're slow, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, it's relevant that they're 2/2s with a +1/+1 counter.
that too.
Because in green, especially, you can proliferate. You can add more tokens to them. You can add more counters to them. You can add more counters to Arlen. There is a common wolf in the set. In fact,
That's right.
It's the associated card. It's Arlen's Wolf.
Yeah. And it's a pretty good card.
It's a 3/2. It can only be blocked by creatures with power
3 or greater, I think.
2 or less.
Can't be blocked
Can't
by
be
creatures
blocked,
with
yes,
power
sorry.
2 or less. Yeah.
And so that
Because he would love to block this with a 2/1.
Yeah.
Classic team or pairing, right?
Yeah.
3/2s into 2/1s.
So you can have that come in as a 4/3. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that. Asking for that exact thing to happen is maybe not super common, but on her own, I like Arlen a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Arlen is the kind of card that you really are stoked to throw away on our Boreal Grazer to get one more activation out of.
Yeah.
The ceiling on how powerful this card can be in limited is pretty high, right? If things go well, I mean, even if things go kind of badly, first you have to chump with a 3/3, and then you untap, you make another 3/3, but now you have your mana back, and hopefully you can proliferate. You've got a 4/4, maybe next turn you're gonna have another 4/4, and then or maybe it'll keep going if you manage to proliferate Arlen herself. So
I think green has a lot of good ways to proliferate, and I think Arlen with proliferate is very, very strong.
yeah, no, it's a good card.
We have a foil Tidebearer Giant, which is just kind of a nice card. It's a 4/5 for 5 and a black, so 6 mana 4/5, and when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card and lose a life.
I certainly like this card less than
Blade Juggler.
less than Blade Juggler.
I mean, yeah.
But also, I was going to say the same kind of effect, but from Rivals with Ixalan, the 2 mana 1/1 Electricianary that makes you lose a life. Some sort of Inquisitor. Is it just Vampire Inquisitor? I can't remember. Anyways, this effect, when you strap it on a big creature, is much less exciting, right? Because being able to smooth your draw out in the first 3 or 4 turns, or even second turn, that's just more powerful than being able to smooth your draw out once you've hit 6 lands.
Right.
But that said, it's a perfectly serviceable card. You're not going to want to first pick it.
Yeah. I mean, a 4/5 that replaces itself is pretty...
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Holds down the ground.
It's
yeah.
totally fine. It's just when you see this line of text, after having played this card a bit, I just think this line of text is like noticeably worse if you're spending, 6 mana on it.
Yeah.
It turned out 5 mana, even with like Blade Juggler in that format. Blade Juggler, when you didn't have Spectacle, I was still
pretty
a bunch
alright.
happier than Tithebreaker Giant. Like 6, often 6 is kind of like, okay, if you're spending 6, like you want a bomb, you don't want to just kind of like...
Because it's not turn 6. That's the thing. People
Yeah.
often talk about 6 drops. Like, well, on turn 6. And like, no. You're not getting to 6 mana on turn 6.
Yeah,
You usually
not
get
reliably,
to 6
yeah.
mana on turn 8.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, you gotta factor that in. You don't hit your land drop every turn necessarily.
Yeah, and like each point of mana past 4 is like it's a longer gulf to probably wait, right?
None of that matters, however, because our rare is another...
We talked about this with Fate Reforged, but this set is particularly bomb laden, so
Yeah.
you're usually taking your rare.
Here's another one that I've lost to.
Okay.
I didn't even fully understand the text of this card, so when it happened to me, I was like, Hold up.
There have been several of those cards for me, too.
I need to read this.
I have had to reread cards like after I've screwed something up with them. Yeah. in this
Finale of Eternity.
format. I have no idea. Oh, right.
X black sorcery. Destroy up to 3 target creatures with toughness X or less.
So each of the creatures, not total, right?
Yeah.
Each of the creatures have whatever you spent after the black
So if you-
toughness or less.
if
So
you spend
the greatest toughness of the 3 creatures you target.
Yeah, so if you spend a total of 5 mana on
Yeah.
this, you can get 3 creatures that each have toughness 3 or less.
Yeah, you could kill 3 3/3s or a 3/3 and a 2/2 and a 1/1 or whatever. Right. Okay. But you could not kill any 4/4s, obviously. But you could kill 3 3/3s with 5 mana.
Yeah. Or you can spend 6 mana and kill. It's
Yeah,
how much
spend-
how much would you pay for a 3-for-1 and not be happy about it?
Oh, absolutely. No, this card is bonkers strong. Like
it's
it
ludicrous.
always kills up to 3 creatures.
Yeah.
Like that, like, and it's
that's
up
the
to.
thing.
It's not you have
Up
to
to.
get to.
Yeah.
Like with other big expensive black removal spells, like from the first Ravnica set, Hex.
Hex. I was thinking exactly
Yeah,
of Hex.
it feels a bit like Hex, doesn't it? Because it's black, and then 4, but you have to target 6 creatures. You can't target less than 6 creatures. So usually to cast Hex, you're like, it's Wrath of God, right? Like every now and then you're in a position where you're like, oh no, I'm like losing to his 3 flyers and I only have 2 creatures on the board. Like I need to rip a creature so I can play it, then hope to not die before I can Hex.
And so yeah, this is
this
just
is
like,
better, yeah.
what if what if they only have 1 blocker?
Hex,
But-
by the way, medium. It's like only okay in draft. Awesome in Commander, I bet.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that was what we just saw on
Oh,
screen.
we saw the
was a-
Commander.
was a
More,
Commander
more
reprint,
printing,
yeah.
more recent printing is from.
But it's
I have
like-
played it in draft 1v1.
If you're in a situation where they're tapped out, and if you just kill their 1 big creature, you win the game. Then you can cast it. You just you just get rid of that 1 creature.
yeah.
So
And then what's the double? What's the you get to like get creatures
Oh,
back if you
if-
spend 12? Because spending 12 on these finales, it does sometimes happen.
I haven't
complicated
seen it-
board
I
space.
haven't
Like we
seen
do
it
get
yet.
into the late game sometimes.
I haven't seen it happen yet. But
Okay.
this one is if X is 10 or more, return all creature cards from your graveyard to the
Your
battlefield.
graveyard. Okay,
Your
so you don't get to immediately steal the creatures you just blew up, unless you want to, because
No, you get to
know.
call everyone back to
one of
back
them's
to
been
action.
shrunk or something.
So I've opened another pack here.
So 100% that finale is the first pick.
Absolutely.
If that's missing, I'm pretty sure it's the Arlen Cord. You know what? This might actually be
Yeah.
a pretty good set for teaching people how to draft, as they just like open the packs and they want to take the rare or the Planeswalker, because
Yes.
it's usually one of those two is the right pick first.
It's good for early packs, but I mean, we talk all the time about not getting married to your first pick, and like,
But we just said that you shouldn't do that
in
here.
this set you
Right,
shouldn't.
right, right.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a set for sort of like finding your lane and seeing what's open. I think
Yeah.
this is a set for. I opened Finale of Eternity. I'm playing black.
It doesn't matter if my neighbor on my left and
Yeah.
my neighbor on my right both open Bond to. Like I'm playing black, and we're
Yeah.
all just going to play black and have kind of mediocre black X decks.
An
Yeah.
example to crib from someone else's podcast,
Right.
on limited resources. Luis was saying that if he opened Liliana Dreadhorde General,
Yeah.
and he saw that the person beside him face up also drafted Liliana Dreadhorde General, he's still forcing black.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't matter either side, right?
Yeah.
It's like because the person on your left opening it way better than the person on your right opening it by a factor of 2.
Yeah.
Or twice as bad. Sorry, I mean not a factor.
But it's basically like, look, I'm in this color, out of my way. I don't care if you're in this color too. We'll end up with enough playables. I'm playing Finale of Eternity.
It's like I'm in this color. Stay in my way. It's correct for you to also be in this color.
yeah.
Let's fight. Yeah. In draft, okay, which is not normally good draft advice.
No.
Okay.
So I've opened a second pack here. So we're
one
going to go
more.
through a second pack.
All right, these were just our own packs. Normally, we're always thanking someone for sending the packs.
Yeah,
but
these
we
we
wanted to
just got
talk
from the
about
shelf,
war, so
so-
we're rocking some extra.
Goblin
Crack packs.
Assault Team. Real quick, I love that the art is goblins from all these different guilds.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, there's
really
a
like that.
Goblin, a Boros Goblin. There's definitely like a Rakdos Goblin there,
And a Gruul
Goblin.
Goblin,
Yeah,
It's good
Sweet.
stuff.
Yeah.
3 and a red for a 4/1 with haste. When it dies, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control.
I haven't played this one yet. When I first looked at it, I thought like this card's kind of cool.
It's cool.
It
but
doesn't force a creature to block it, which is sometimes what you want to see, and we've gotten from like red expensive haste creatures.
It just trades for anything.
Right. It's 4 mana,
Yeah.
which is a fair bit. There's a bunch of good ways that this could go. I suppose the best one is just like you get to get in for 4, and then the following turn you get to trade for something that matters. But both of those scenarios are asking a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Pouncing Lynx nice in aggressive deck. It's 1 and a white for 2/1. As long as it's your turn, Pouncing Lynx has first strike. So it's just like the fresh-faced recruit.
It is fresh-faced recruit. Yeah, exactly. Fresh-faced cat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this card's fine, I think.
Sky Theater strikes again.
Okay.
Goblin Assailant is 1 and a red for a 2/2.
Grizzly Bear.
That's it. Sometimes you need a 2-drop.
Yep.
And
This one is pretty cool.
Goblin
art.
Assailant's totally fine. Kaya's Ghost Form. What do you make of this? Single black mana for a creature enchantment. Enchant creature or planeswalker
relevant,
you
yeah.
control. When enchanted permanent dies or is put into exile, return that card to the battlefield under your control.
They didn't quite want to give us Leaves play, but they wanted to make it a little better than just dies, I guess, hey?
Yeah.
So, I'll be honest. I haven't been brave enough to put this in a deck yet.
Neither have I.
It's 1 mana,
It's
and
been-
the planeswalkers all just tick down,
It's
and you
been-
always have a planeswalker.
Yeah, it's been decent against me.
Okay, yeah. You've played against someone who's brave enough to play it.
Yeah, and all they did was put it on like a medium but kind of annoying creature.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, well, I need to kill that,
Like an Arlen's
but it's just going to
Packwolf
come back.
or a Baleful or a Sky
No,
Theater
just like a
Strix?
random. It was like the
Johnny's Pride.
the Lazatep Manticore or whatever.
Oh, okay, like a
the
6-drop creature. Okay.
invading Manticore. Yeah, it's a 4/5 that amasses 2 when it comes
Okay,
in. It's
okay.
like,
Yeah.
I can't just keep taking hits from a 4/5. I can't keep chumping it. I want to kill it.
Yeah.
But then when I kill it, it comes back. They amass 2 again.
Yeah, that's
Ugh.
decent. You know, another probably pretty decent target is just the 5/3 hexproof.
Oh, the crocodile.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the crocodile. Yeah, it's like
ward scale crocodile.
you kind of need. I've played that in one of my decks, and it's like you need to. There's a bunch of stuff that'll trade with it. It needs some help to like smash through, but maybe this could be another way to do it. It's just like for 1 mana, just get a rebuy on your 5/3 crocodile and just keep pushing through with this guy. At least you're not worried that it's going to get bounced.
Mm-hmm.
Because this hexproof creature is pretty decent anyway.
Yeah.
I think. So
Maybe
I
should try it.
I want to try it.
Yeah.
There's like the ceiling on this card's pretty high, and the floor is like 1 mana, and you get 2 for 1.
So the trick
Right.
with the planeswalkers is that most of the uncommon planeswalkers have this situation where, an example being like Vraska, she's got 5 loyalty and she has a -2 and a -2, and then sits there with 1, and you can't kill her. You can't minus her to death unless you proliferate her.
Or like spend a damage spell.
Yeah, and like Vraska, in that specific example, her static ability isn't that bothersome for your opponent, so they're probably not going to waste time
Right.
killing her, especially if you have a Kaya's Ghost Form on her.
Yeah.
So I don't know how well it works
Ditto
for
Arlen, like the one we just saw.
Yeah.
Arlen, it's like super doesn't matter.
I don't know how well it works for planeswalkers unless you are in a position where you can proliferate and make sure that your planeswalker dies.
Right.
But I don't know.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them where the static doesn't necessarily matter
if I
for
have
limited.
if I have Bolus, then maybe I'll try and run this.
Sure.
Maybe I should be brave enough to at least try this.
There's
let's
also
go
like
for
some
that.
sacrifice effects in the
Yeah.
format, so you could play
Some.
it in your like aristocrat's shell.
Yeah, that's true. Snare Spinner. It's just a fine little friend. It's 1 and a green for 1/3 with reach, and whenever it blocks a creature with flying, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn.
Yeah, big fan. This isn't quite what do we call it? We call it, our nickname for it was just a little spider, but there's from like M10, M11. There's the
No, not Nest Invader. Netcaster.
no,
Netcaster Spider?
that one's a 3 mana with a similar clause. This one's just 1/2 Death Touch reach.
Oh, you're thinking of the Green Doomblade.
Yes, Green Doomblade.
What's that card called?
I don't know, Baby Gloom Widow or something like that.
Oh, what
Juvenile
was
Gloom
it?
Widow? No, that's not right.
Yeah, it's just a 1/2 for 1 and a green with death.
Anyways,
Touch and
this
reach.
one's close. It's going to kill most of the incoming flyers.
Yeah.
And it's a 1/3, like so it blocks 2 1s.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. Yeah, solid. I like taking these.
Yeah, I know it's not a
Big
giant,
fan of spiders.
I know it's not named giant spider, but it's a giant spider. That's a
That's
big
Spirit
spider.
Spinner? Yeah.
Ugh, scary.
As big as a house. Yeah.
Herald. Oh,
Oh, I was wrong. That one's close though. It's also 2 mana and a 1/3, and it's a
right.
little
Juvenile
spider.
Gloom Widows. That's from Lorwyn. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the 1/3 with reach and wither for green. Yeah, what was it? It was 1 and a green for a 1/2 with death touch and reach from one of the core sets. I don't remember what it was.
Well, we just have to look down.
Hold
in
your
the comments. They'll tell
comments.
us. Yeah.
Hold
Oh,
your comments.
don't.
I'm sure
Paul's
Paul's
gonna
looking
figure
at
it
it
out.
now.
He's googling 1/2 read that shot for you.
Herald of the Dread Horde, 3 and a black for a 3/2. That's it. But when it dies, you amass 2.
This guy overperformed to the PPR, I thought.
I think it just overperforms in general. You're sort of like 3/2 for 4, amass 2 and it dies. Yeah, I guess that's okay. It's kind of great.
Yeah, it's good at keeping your planeswalkers alive, right?
Like it's a 3/2 and then a 2/2.
Yeah.
And like 3 power trades with a bunch of relevant stuff.
Also, amass, my initial impression was that having to put the counters on your creature that's already there would be like a hindrance. Like I thought that was a drawback, but after playing a few games, I'm like, no, this is way better. I almost always want to just have a bigger creature than have another creature.
Just like now I have a 6/6.
Yeah, exactly. Just like whoever gets the biggest zombie army usually wins.
Thundering
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. Thundering Deadly Recluse.
Thank you.
Thank you,
There we
Paul.
go. Good job.
Deadly Recluse.
That's what I was thinking of. Because this spider actually does look little. This looks like a regular sized spider.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's supposed to be as big as that tree next to it. It's kind of tough to tell. You assume that you're very close to a regular sized spider, so we just called it little spider around the
With the flavor
shop.
text, even dragons fear its silken strands. I have to assume that it's large.
All right.
But it doesn't actually.
There's nothing in the picture for scale.
Yeah,
right?
it's not very strong because it's only a 1/2, but
Yeah.
it's got a real powerful venom.
Yeah,
'Cause it's got
exactly. So
death
it could
touch.
be small. It could just be like
Actually,
a black widow, right?
that's some sort of an ungulate leg in the web at the lower left of the
Oh,
isn't it?
okay. Is as big as that deer. All right. Yeah. No, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I want to visit. I want like a holodeck or something to like visit all these amazing planes of the world of Magic, but I couldn't get around the spiders.
Yeah,
I'd have to be like,
just so many
computer.
evil spiders
Yeah.
in the multiverse of.
computer, I'd like to go to Ravnica. No spiders, please.
Graham can't do it.
That's too creepy.
Anyway,
Anyway,
spiders in my house.
next up, Thundering Ceratok. 4 and a green for a 4/5 Rhino, kinda, I guess. With trample. Random ETB when it enters the battlefield. Other creatures you control gain trample until end of turn.
It's kind of fine.
Sure.
It's not amazing.
Yeah. That ability, the ETB trample thing, is like not super relevant. 4/5 trample for 5, that's good. It's a fine
I think in
creature.
this set we'd rather have a 5/5 vanilla like Gigantosaurus or whatever it was called, like 5/5.
Like,
no other abilities.
Velocipede.
Colossipede, that's what I'm thinking of. Not Gigantosaurus. That's a different real card. That's
Wall,
the 5-mana 10/10 vanilla, right?
Yeah. Wall of Runes. Single blue mana for an 0/4 defender. When it enters the battlefield, scry 1. I don't think this card's great. I did see someone play it, and they were like, I was like, oh, well, I don't think that card's very good. And then they played Huatli, which
okay.
makes their creatures deal combat damage equal to their toughness rather than their power.
it doesn't let-
it. Unlike High Alert, it
Yeah.
does not allow defenders to attack.
Yeah.
But it still meant I couldn't attack into what was essentially a 4/4.
Yeah.
So, in that situation, it was good. I don't actually know that this is worth a card in your deck otherwise, but
Well, what about... I mean, Scry 1 is not as good as Surveil 1, right?
no.
Okay. Because people were pretty hot on Barrier Over Bones, at least for a little while. Not hot, but like they were like, play it, it's fine.
I would only play Barrier of Bones. This is me anyway.
But you were putting together a Surveil deck.
I would
guess.
only
Yeah.
play Barrier of Bones when I had things that needed Surveil.
Yeah. That's part of that point. We got there.
Spark Harvest. Single black mana, but as an additional cost to cast this spell, you must either sacrifice a creature or pay 3 and a black. And the sorcery effect is destroy target creature or planeswalker. So it's either 3 black, destroy creature or planeswalker, or black and sacrifice a creature. And maybe you have a creature you want to sacrifice. It's not... it's okay.
You don't usually have a creature you want to sacrifice. You
Sometimes
often
you
will
have to.
have a creature you're willing to sacrifice to get their problematic permanent off the board.
Yeah.
And this card giving you the option of being the typical 5-mana removal spell with some sort of upside in black. That's like the expensive murder. But you
I
get
think
something.
this is just good.
This one's
I think
way
this
better.
is very good.
The upside of it being sometimes 4 mana less and you throw away a creature, that's great. That's a great upside.
Yeah.
It also targets a planeswalker, but of course they were going to give us that one in this set, right? You know, common Dreadbore was a needed thing.
Oh boy, this card's great.
Yep.
Eternal Skylord, which just I love the name too. Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a legendary creature.
Yeah, 4 and a blue for a 3/3. It does not have flying. I definitely thought that the first time I saw this card.
Yeah, there's some confusion with these lords. Yeah,
It's a 3/3, but you amass 2, and zombie tokens you control have flying. So It's a 3/3 that comes with a 2/2 flyer for 5 mana. That's great.
But it's better than that in this limited
But
format.
it's better than that because sometimes it's not a 2/2 flyer. Sometimes you're making your 3/3 a 5/5 flyer.
Weirdly, this is like the one card so far, I think. Maybe also the Death Touch Lord, where it's like, actually, it'd be great if the amass worked a little differently and you could make 2 4/4 flyers. Because like making one 8/8 flyer,
The only
not
other
as good.
the only other creatures in the or the only other cards in the set that make zombie tokens are Liliana,
Right.
who's mythic, who makes 2/2 zombies, and Oketra, who's mythic, who makes 4/4 zombies.
Right.
And you don't need the Sky Lord to help you win the game if you have Liliana or Oketra. But hey, why not? I do like that it does. I mean, it makes it better for limited and other formats if it's for constructed and for other formats that it is just zombie token. So that's nice.
Right.
But yeah, in limited, this card's just very, very strong. Cruel Celebrant, which I tried to make work and sort of got there. It's a 1/2 for white-black. 2 mana 1/2 vampire. When it or another creature or planeswalker you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So there can be an Aristocrats deck in limited if you can get it together.
I don't think you should pick this high, though.
No.
It's okay.
No one
though.
else is going to.
Exactly. Sure. Yeah.
Nobody else is gonna pick it
if
high.
it doesn't table, let someone else high pick the Aristocrats cards.
Yeah.
Because you really want to be taking them as an afterthought to your good cards in your deck. Yeah.
I don't know what's the better proliferate deck, if it's blue-green or white-green, but here's a great one for the white deck. Grateful Apparition. 1 and a white for a 1/1 flyer. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, proliferate. Repeatable proliferate.
Yeah,
It's
there's a few repeatable
Thrumming
proliferates.
Bird.
Yeah, it's Throwing Bird in white. And in this set, these effects are scary and they get out of control quickly.
Yeah.
Like there's just more +1/+1 counters to proliferate than there were, I think, on Scars of Mirrodin.
So Grateful Apparition I would happily take first. Eternal Skylord I would happily take first. Depending on how the format shakes out, maybe just the Spark Harvest. Maybe that's just good enough.
Yeah, this is a more interesting pick because, we haven't looked at.
I know I haven't looked at the rare
I
yet.
was just gonna,
I would
we're thinking about it now.
probably-
Yeah.
I would probably take the Skylord
Maybe
here.
figuring out second and third picks is a more important thing to do at this point.
Well, because our rare, let's take a quick look. Our rare is,
also our Planeswalker, right? Because we haven't seen a Planeswalker.
That's true.
Yet. Yeah,
So
you know
it is-
by the
it
end of
is-
the pack. Yeah.
no question that our first pick would be
Oh yeah,
Sarkhan the Masterless.
this is one of the bomby ones. Yeah.
3 red for a 5 loyalty planeswalker. Static ability, it's a weird one. Whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, each dragon you control deals 1 damage to that creature.
Yeah.
Well, there's no dragons in this set. Oh, but wait, sorry. -3.
There's one dragon.
Is there?
Yeah, he's started his own cult.
Oh.
He's the people's champion.
Niv Mizzet?
Yeah, he's a dragon
okay.
still, right?
That's true. He's a dragon.
reborn.
He's a dragon avatar now.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, for -3, you can create a 4/4 dragon token with flying. And for +1, until end of turn, each planeswalker you control becomes a 4/4 red dragon creature and gains flying. So you can, if you have like another planeswalker just sitting there with like 1 loyalty not doing anything, you can play Sarkhan plus him, hit them for 4
with haste, basically.
with
Yeah,
that
yeah.
other
Yeah,
planeswalker.
Yeah.
Or you can minus to make a dragon, or you can minus dragon then plus
Yeah,
next turn. If you play Sarkhan minus make a dragon,
Next
makes
turn attack for 8.
makes
yeah.
it harder for them to attack because their creatures take damage
Yeah.
from that 1 dragon. Then in your next turn, plus Sarkhan, and then you attack with your dragon and the Sarkhan dragon. Yeah, Sarkhan's unreal.
Yeah, the regular mode on this card is pretty crazy. Also, just looking at this pack, I mean, if there was just a 5 mana 4/4 vanilla, we might take that. Like, that would be okay. Maybe the Skylord's better. It's probably better.
I think the Skylord
Because
is
it's a little
very
better
good
than
card.
it's a 5/5, right? At the
Like
very
I think
least,
Eternal Skylord and Grateful Apparition and probably Spark Harvest are really solid and defensible first picks out of here.
But like Air Elemental would also just be a defensible first pick, and like Sarkhan is so much better than Air Elemental.
Yeah.
Like he's like Air Elemental with 2 other abilities or more. Yeah. Anyways, really good card there. So yeah, you're gonna pick your rare a lot of the time.
Yeah. We have limited time because you have
do.
you have to take off, but you wanted to briefly hit on some constructed thoughts.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool new decks in this format. So I'm referring to the May 6th. It's like the deck list dump from MTGO.
Right.
And so I'll just quickly go over a few and tell you about them. Simic Nexus is back and fairly popular.
Okay.
So never left. I'm looking at Team J-Bro's list, and one of the new cards that they all seem to agree is great in Nexus is Tamiyo, Collector of Tales.
Oh yeah.
So this card is pretty cool. It lets you mill yourself a little bit, which is something that blue-green often does, and then regrow, I think, any card or an instant or sorcery. I can't remember which of the two.
So the new Tamiyo.
Yeah.
2 green, blue for 5 loyalties. Yeah, spells and abilities your opponent control can't cause you to discard or sacrifice.
That hasn't come up as far as I've seen yet, but probably.
+1, choose a non-land card name, then reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put all cards with the chosen name from among them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. And then -3, return target card from your graveyard to your hand.
Right. So it'd be super relevant if you're playing with this card and against Esper Control, because they play a lot of Thought Erasures in the game. Yeah. Or Esper Midrange, same thing. And then I'm not sure how many effects are causing things to sacrifice permanents, but Liliana Dreadhorde General is definitely a real card.
If Nexus goes into your graveyard, it gets reshuffled, right?
It does, yeah. So you can't get your Nexus back with the -3,
Yeah.
but you can name Nexus if you need to try to hit it in the top 4. And you regularly make plays with Simic Nexus where you just like activate Search and need to hit Nexus in order to not die.
Right.
So it's kind of like another Search for Azcanta. Team J-Bro is running 3 of these and 4 of the Search.
Wow.
And then like they've removed the Hydroid Crises. So hey, if you've been looking for those, chances are they're a little bit cheaper now. And they just win the game with 1 Commence the End Game. Commence the End Game, pretty cool card. It's uncounterable divination for 6 mana, but you also get to amass equal to the number of cards in your hand.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, it's an instant. That's
right,
super
so
relevant.
It's 4 blue instant, can't be countered. Draw 2 cards, then amass X, where X is the number of cards in your hand. So you just draw lots of cards and then.
Yeah. And so if you have 3 Tamiyos in your deck, it's like you have 4 copies of your WinCon. You maybe could get worried about like this spell getting exiled by a random Ashiok on the other side of the table, or there's a couple artifacts that'll exile the yard right now. But I don't know if people are playing them very much. So you might have to end up fighting over that because your plan might involve, like, in some weird scrappy game, you have to cast this, and then you jump with the token, and then later you have to get it back with Tamiyo to win the game. Anyways, Simic Nexus, still putting up numbers, doing pretty well. Moving on, Ted Panic offers us a pretty cool Hero of Precinct 1 deck featuring Sorin, Vengeful Bloodlord.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, as well as Teferi Time Raveler that we looked at before, and the new Ugin. These all, Ugin makes creatures.
Yeah.
And then all of your spells in this deck are multicolored except for Ugin and the hero. So they've got like Despark, Mortify, and Tyrant Scorn as and this one, there you go. There's Ugin. He'll make tokens. Sorin will get back creatures for you to recast, which is like making 2 creatures as long as you have a Hero Precinct 1 in play. And then it's playing Thought Erasers, I mentioned. Enter the God Eternals. That's another removal spell slash threat. Like it's pretty cool that Enter the God Eternals is getting some constructive play, right?
So
this is like clearly a limited bomb. It's another one of the
So this is Esper go very, very wide?
It's like Esper mid-range. Like Esper, not quite beatdown, but not quite hard control. It's not playing any counter spells, but it is playing Thought Erasers. So it's just trying to play. Honestly, I would want to call it like Esper Fair Magic, because it's just playing these. It's playing these Planeswalkers and some kill spells, and Hero of Precinct 1, and Thief of Sanity, and just hoping to kind of like attack and block and kill your stuff. And it's not necessarily like a turning the screws blue-white Teferi typical feel, although like you can maybe have some games like that if the opponent doesn't have much else to do, like attack the hand a bit and then play a Teferi Hero of Dominaria. He's in there too, but it'll have plenty of games where it just like attacks the hand once and then plays a hero into a Thief of Sanity into maybe this and just like makes a bunch of tokens and attacks and tries to make it tough for the opponent. Okay, moving on. Narset, Parter of Veils, is getting played in multiple formats, including Standard. Yeah. So this deck, brought to us by Alvis, includes Narset and new Nicol Bolas Dragon God.
Narset, by the way, I realized I didn't read out Enter the God Eternals, but Narset is 1 blue for a Planeswalker, 5 loyalty. Each opponent can't draw more than 1 card each turn, that's something else that's come up in, not to me, thankfully, but you do the thing where it's like, I cast the Jace's Triumph, the divination, and then just nothing happens.
Right, yeah, nothing. You don't draw any cards because
Because
you've already drawn a card for the
Narset
turn.
doesn't stop you from casting it.
No, that's right.
It just
yeah.
means you don't draw the cards.
Yeah, and-
Again, I haven't done this. I've only seen. I've heard it occurring.
Yeah.
And then minus on Narset. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a non-creature, non-land card. Sorry, non-creature, non-land card from among them. Put it into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order.
So this card in like a mid-range control deck is just good against the other mid-range control decks they're looking to
'Cause they
for
can't
one
draw
the opponent.
cards.
Yeah, exactly. It stops the other blue decks or black decks from
No more
drawing
canisters
extra
in
cards.
sight.
Yeah, other green decks from drawing extra cards. This deck's also playing so it's like 4 copies of both Nicol Bolas Dragon God, and Nicol Bolas the Ravager, the creature.
Wow.
As well as 4 Thief of Sanity and 2 Hostage Taker. And then it's playing just a
Mana
suit
base
of...
for this deck must be a mess.
Well, it's not that much different than the decks that were already playing. Like, if your goal was to play Nicol Bolas the Ravager from M19, which...
I didn't see anyone playing that.
Oh, yeah, no, I've run into some decks playing it on Arena. Yeah.
Okay.
And, like, yeah, so you have a bunch of good Grixis cards at your avail since then. And, like, this card's already a big payoff.
Yeah. A reminder from M19, Nicol Bolas the Ravager is a 4/4 flying Elder Dragon legend for 1 blue, black, red. So only 4 mana. ETB opponent discards a card, and for 4 blue, black, red, exile it and it returns to the battlefield transformed as Nicol Bolas the Arisen, a 7 loyalty planeswalker, +2, draw 2 cards. -3, deals 10 damage to target creature or planeswalker. -4, target creature or planeswalker, put target creature or planeswalker from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And -12, exile all but the bottom card of target player's library. Wow.
Yeah, he's big game if you spend all 11 mana to flip him. But he's
Yeah.
totally fine as a 4/4 flying Ravenous Rats, too.
Yeah. Yeah, wow.
yeah.
What a description.
And the mana's basically been there since Ravnica Allegiance.
Yeah,
You
all
know,
right.
They have Blood Crypt
What
now.
What is the mana base for this deck?
Okay, I didn't have that part.
here, I can look it
Sorry,
up.
yeah,
I
you
got
have
it.
it?
I got
Yeah, I'm sorry. I took screenshots of all the spells so I could do this as quickly as possible. But yeah, it's Alvis. So I imagine they're playing 4 Watery Grave, some number of Blood Crypt and Steam Vents, and then also some number of Drowned Catacombs and Dragon Skull Summits
Just trying
and Sulphur
to-
Falls. And then they might have like a few basics in there, and that's probably it. Maybe 1 more Guildgate if they're
here we go.
particularly blue-black this deck.
4 Blood Crypt, 4 Dragon Skull Summit, 4 Drowned Catacombs, 4 Steam Vents, 4 Watery Grave, 2 Sulphur Falls, 3 Swamps, and an Island.
Right, there you go.
Yeah.
So it's still a fundamentally blue-black with a splash of red in the deck.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing in this deck that's double red. So yeah, that deck looks like a lot of fun. You get to play a whole bunch of bombs.
Nice.
G Goggles gives us probably the coolest new deck. So this deck was built more or less by, I want to say, wizards like R&D, and the cards for it arrived kind of in a package together inside of War of the Spark. It's 2 Gideon Blackblade. Those are there just because they're good. That's not part of the package, but you want to include them.
That's the new Gideon.
New Gideon, yeah. This is just a really strong planeswalker. We don't have to talk about that one. Okay, 4 Dreadhorde Arcanist. We're bringing that one up. It's a
That's the 1 in a red for a 1/3.
1/3
with
trample.
Trample.
Yeah, and a clause that lets you recast your spells.
Yeah, it's a little confusing, but whenever it attacks, you may cast target instant or sorcery with converted mana cost less than or equal to Dreadhorde Arcanist's power from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If you do that, exile it. So by itself, it only hits 1 mana spells, but
Maybe you play some instants or sorceries that pump up its power.
yeah.
Also in this deck, 4 10th District Legionnaire, a red and a white for a 2/2 haste with the old classic heroic
the
ability.
heroic ability,
Heroic
yeah.
ability. If you target this creature with a spell, an instant or sorcery or any spell,
Any
if
spell.
you cast a spell that targets this, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and then also Scry 1, which was on 1 or 2 of the good heroes too. 2/2 haste heroic.
Nice.
I don't think they ever gave it that to us
No.
in Theros. Haste, it has haste by itself. Usually giving it haste was like one of the things you wanted to cast as one of your spells to pull off a big play. But this one has haste by itself. And 4 Feather the Redeemed.
Oh, Feather, right.
Yeah, it's the Feather deck that I'm talking about here. So red, white, white for a 3/4 flying legendary. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets any creature you control, exile that card instead of putting it into your graveyard. It resolves. If you do, return it to your hand at the beginning of the next upkeep. Sorry, the beginning of the next end step. So this and Dreadhorde Arcanist are both trying to buy back your spells in competing fashions, but they give you 2 different cards that buy back your spells.
And so, correct me if I'm wrong. The way that this works is, and let's say for the sake of argument that it's a 1 mana pump, like
they're playing some of those,
like Samet Sprint or something. I don't know what's actually in the deck, but
often Samet Sprint is in the deck. Gird for Battle is generally always in the deck.
Okay,
so one whites, put a +1 on.
So you attack
up to 2 creatures. Yeah,
and then the Arcanist lets you recast your 1 mana trick or spell or something.
Right.
Arcanist says you exile it.
Right.
But I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you can instead choose Feather's replacement effect and exile it and get that spell back.
I believe that's right. So I lost this deck last night on stream, but I didn't even run into the situation where they're both in play. But when 2 effects want to exile the same permanent, you usually get to the controller of the permanent will choose which one
of the spell
affects it. The controller of the spell in this case. So that sounds correct.
Oh, in fact, in the
notes
in the rules notes, if another replacement effect instructs you to exile an instant or sorcery, such as Dreadhorde Arcanist, or the flashback keyword, you may choose to apply Feather's replacement effect first.
Perfect.
If you do, Feather's delayed triggered ability will return that card to your hand.
Great. So they do actually have some synergy together.
And is Feather's ability a May as well?
I don't think so. Maybe.
Yep.
Okay. You have to exile the spells.
So it's already in. So you've cast, say, Gird for Battle.
Right.
It's already in your graveyard. You attack with Feather and Dreadhorde Arcanist. You get to replay Gird at instant speed on these creatures. Then you choose Feather's ability. Gird goes away, comes back to your hand at the end step. Next turn, you can just cast it again.
Pretty hot.
There's
some fun shenanigans.
Ludicrous.
Yeah.
All right.
The deck plays Rile just to cycle, as well as Defiant Strike. Well, yeah, it wants more Defiant Strikes. There's not an infinite number of Defiant Strikes. Plus Rile gives your Legionnaire or Feather trample.
Riles that just deal 1 damage.
Deal 1, yeah. It's. I believe it gives trample, right?
Yeah,
it
does.
1 red from Ixalan.
Yeah.
Deal 1 damage to your own creature. Draw a card. And I think
the
it gives
creature
a
gets
trample.
trample. It does,
It's the Enrage trigger card, but it just goes in this because it draws a card.
Wow.
Yeah, it gains giving the Legionnaire trample is relevant.
Yeah, right.
Reckless Rage, as well as Sheltering Light and Shock. Sheltering Light just protects your creatures, so that's an obvious include for 1 white. And then Reckless Rage, I think, is the 1 red, deal 2 damage to your own creature and 4 damage to another one.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, so that's a cool card that's finally getting some play.
That's also from Ixalan Block.
Yeah, Ixalan Block,
Wow.
Reckless Rage.
I got to try and put this deck together now.
Yeah, it's fun. It's got some really cool interactions.
All right.
Okay, one more, and then we'll say goodnight. So
right.
It's a deck list you know and love. You're familiar with it. Panda Chan brings us this list. It's got 4 Arclight. Yeah, that's the one I was looking at.
Oh, is this the Phoenix?
Yeah, 4 Arclight Phoenix, 4 Augur of Bolas, 4 Electromancer, 1 Terramander. These are all pretty old, but familiar cards.
Now Augur of Bolas is back in standard. So
yeah, Augur of Bolas.
That's relevant.
In a blue-red spells deck. That's cool. 4 Chartacourse, 4 Tormenting Voice, 1 Lava Coil, 4 Opt, 4 Radical Idea, 3 Shock, 3 Wizard's Lightning. Sounds pretty familiar, right? We're talking about a Phoenix Electromancer deck. 4 Finale of Promise.
Oh, yeah.
Just for you and your draft shenanigans. So apparently this is a constructed card that you can play alongside a whole bunch of other good cards.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
And you just buy back your Chartacourses and buy back your Shocks.
Wow.
Yeah, and then you Phoenix them. So, yeah, Panda Chan took that one to 5-0.
Wow.
Cool.
That seems very, very strong.
Cool strat. I'm
Cool.
looking forward to trying that out too. I have the Phoenix deck built in Arena and paper, so I'm now buying for Finale of Promise, I guess.
Cool.
Lol.
What?
Yeah.
Here's where I do the call for engagement. What are you running in standard right now? Let us know in the comments. I can't say that without sounding really contrived. But I'm curious.
We're gonna read them. Yeah.
I am gonna read them. I'm curious to hear what you think. But anyway,
we don't say like, share, subscribe unironically around here.
No.
Although we should. That would make sense, but we just don't do it.
if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do.
Yeah.
Get the.
If you want to
Get the
be
bell on.
notified next time we're here doing this.
Yeah.
I want to quickly say, but I'm the one who has to go, but it's like, if it wasn't clear from my description of just now these standard decks, I think the format is still pretty mutable and think people are trying to figure out what to do. There was a big SCG this last weekend, and there was a lot of Esper Control, Simic Nexus, and Mono Red, which I think is evident of people not being sure what's going to be the best.
Yeah.
And so I'm really looking forward to the next Mythic Championship as this seems like a format where there is still something to figure out.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe multiple things. So yeah, I look forward to more deathlists coming out and fun stuff to try. And yeah, I am curious what you're playing as well.
Cool.
Let us know in the comments.
So until next time, a reminder that this show is brought to you by Card Kingdom. Check out cardkingdom.com/LRR. And of course, this show and everything we do is brought to you by Patreon at patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun. Thank you for your generosity. So until next time, I have been Graham.
I've been Nelson.
And Paul has been there on tech, and Heather does the edit. And thank you all for watching.